Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you today, including an interesting-looking box that may be from one of you. That's always a lot of fun, even if it breaks rule number one on this channel. But I want to offer an apology first for this video and any other videos that I make today and any videos that I make this week about how distracted I seem, about how much it obviously looks like I want to talk about something I'm not talking about. I will talk about books and mail and my little dog, but the nature of the country where I live fundamentally changed yesterday. Its ripples are still going outward. Its full effect obviously has not been seen yet, but the very nature of this country changed. Yesterday morning, this was a representative democracy, and now it's an elective monarchy, where the Trump court yesterday ruled that Donald Trump is immune from criminal prosecution. The laws do not apply to him. I know that the technical text of the ruling says that presidents have that immunity, but the Trump court knew perfectly well they were talking about just one person. And only one person is ever going to take advantage of this, and only one person has already tried to. The President of the United States, who technically has this expanded power and could do anything he wants, could invite Marjorie Taylor Greene to the Oval Office, pull out a gun, and shoot her in the head. And he might get censured by Congress, but he wouldn't get arrested. Wouldn't ever get arrested. The videotapes of the Oval Office videotapes of him pulling out a gun and shooting her can't be used against him according to this ruling. As you'd have to come out, you'd have to make the case some other way. And how would you make it, and who would you make it to? The President of the United States, who also enjoys this newfound power, the first response he had was the response I predicted he would have, which is to say, I'm not going to do anything. I have this extra power now. I am the only one who can exercise it, and I'm not going to do anything. You should just vote your heart out. You just vote like crazy in November. This is a fundamental change to my country. This is no longer a country with the rule of law. To say nothing of the fact that for the whole of my political life, I have been animated by a molten hot hatred of U.S. President Richard Nixon and the grubby, thuggish crimes of Watergate. And those crimes have been retroactively immunized. According to this Trump court ruling, Watergate was legal. Which is even worse than a president coming along who's much worse than Nixon. That I never imagined. That a president would come along much worse than Richard Nixon. That actually happened in my lifetime. A president came along who organized on the state level, on the phone, person by person, in meticulous detail, a plot to overthrow the government of the country, and when it didn't work, he launched a violent insurrection to make it happen anyway. Light years worse than anything any U.S. president has ever even remotely contemplated in the most drunken dreams. So yes, a president came along who was much worse than Richard Nixon. That isn't as far as it got. It got worse than that. I can't believe it, but it did. A court came along that posthumously vindicated Nixon. Watergate was not a crime. Nixon had immunity. I have discovered in the last 24 hours, I've tried making videos and failed. I've discovered in the last 24 hours that I'm not able to quite walk this off. I'm not going to have to live in the United States that is going to experience the full breadth of the decision that was made yesterday by a series of Donald Trump employees. I'm not going to have to live in the country that will experience the worst of that. But a lot of you will. And I'll still get to see it beginning. The ramifications of that decision are going to happen almost immediately. When I'm making this video, Donald Trump's lawyers have gone to the court in New York in an attempt to have his sentencing hearing, which was July 11th, just a week from now, delayed or even canceled. His sentencing for the multiple felony counts on which he was found guilty just a couple of weeks ago in New York. When I'm filming this video, I don't know how that story comes out, but I would be willing to bet that the New York legislature will grant that delay. If they don't cancel the sentencing altogether, they will say, well, no, we can't sentence you now. Thanks to this new Supreme Court ruling, we don't know whether or not you even committed a crime. I'd be willing to bet that by the end of today, they will have postponed his sentencing hearing, and that by the end of the week, they'll have avoided his charges, so that he won't be a convicted felon anymore. All those jury members who got their lives threatened, the judge who got his life threatened, won't make any difference, because an argument will be able to be made that he paid a porn star to defraud the American people in pursuit of his actual presidential duties. I have tried to make videos. I like to make happy videos, and I have tried to do that, and it hasn't been possible. This means something. It means a lot. It changes the fundamental nature of this country. And it guarantees that the only people who will run the hardest for the presidency of this country in the future will be criminals. Will be people who have a reason to do that, or a desire to be criminals. So it's on my mind. So that's a 5-minute throat clearing to let you know if I seem off my game, it's because I am. This is the nature of my country has changed. We are no longer an elective democracy. We are an elective monarchy. We elect a monarch. And we're only going to do that one more time. And because obviously the next person, if it isn't Joe Biden, the next person who gets into the job of president, certainly the next person after that, will close the door behind them. They will use this new expanded power to say, well, no, I don't want there to be any other presidents. I don't want anybody to have to go through the indignity and the time waste and the effort of canvassing for votes anymore. So I'm going to change that. And I'm going to view it as part of my presidential duties. And if you don't like it, I'll have you executed. Also as part of my presidential duties. I knew that this was coming. The only reason why the high court would take this stupid case and invent something called presidential immunity when the lower court had already settled it, the only reason they would take the case is to grant it. So I knew this was coming, but I didn't anticipate how badly it would be hitting me. I really didn't. So it makes little book videos on YouTube really hard to do. I don't know what I'll do about that, because this isn't a case of a booktuber dying and you feel really sad and then you get over it, or a bad piece of news in the news cycle. This is permanent. This is permanent. There are only 2 ways to change this ruling, and voting in November is not one of them. And neither one of them is going to happen, obviously. So one of them was shot down just yesterday. That leaves only one, and neither one is going to happen. So this is permanent. And I don't know what to do about that. There's nothing I can do about that, but I don't know how to school my own reactions. I don't know how to, in my daily life, just shrug and say, well, I guess if it doesn't affect me. I don't know how to do that. I haven't managed to do that yet. So I've debated whether or not to make videos, even though I'm obviously distracted. I obviously have something else on my mind, something I want to talk about for an hour that isn't books. Or just stop making videos for a while and just see what time does. But I don't know. We have packages to go through here that at least can do something today, and I want to do a Rocket Summer video today, and maybe another TBR just talking about books, except that just talking about simple little things doesn't help any. This isn't changing. It isn't going anywhere, and I'm not emigrating, which is the other obvious solution here, the other obvious approach here. But where to emigrate? Where would you emigrate? If you are an American who's worried about the future, as well you should be, since in only a few months you are going to be a subject rather than a citizen. Where do you go? The most attractive, immediate, and easiest options are Mexico and Canada. They're not safe. They're loaded with U.S. military bases, all of whom are Trump cult. But where else do you go? All of Europe is turning hard fascist. Germany, France, the Netherlands, England. England is anyway. Sorry. Let's just persevere in this mail haul, and I will figure out what to do with this channel on my own time. I don't need to agonize it out on camera. I'm sorry to all of you, I will leave a note in the notes to this video saying that the 10-minute mark is where you should start for the books. I just had to clear my thoughts because this is what I do on this channel. I don't actually put on a game face and lie to you as a grifter for money. Guys. I don't do that on this channel. And this is extremely fundamental. Nothing like this has happened in the history of the country. Anyway, let's at the 10-minute mark, let's just move on to the first book here. So the first book is by Mark Lilla. It comes out in early December, so this is my latest book, and it's called Ignorance and Bliss. And I don't have a pub sheet for it, but this is the pub sheet on the inside here, so we'll see here. Aristotle claimed that, quote, all human beings want to know, close quote. Our own experience proves that all human beings also want to not know. Today, centuries after the Enlightenment, mesmerized crowds still follow preposterous prophets, irrational rumors trigger fanatical acts, and magical thinking crowds out common sense and expertise. Why is this? Where does this will to ignorance come from, and how does it continue to shape our lives? In this book, the acclaimed essayist and historian of ideas Mark Lilla offers an absorbing psychological diagnosis of the human will not to know. With erudition and brio, the author ranges from the Book of Genesis and Plato's Dialogues to Sufi parables and Sigmund Freud, revealing the paradoxes of hiding truth from ourselves. He also exposes the fantasies this impulse leads us to entertain, the ecstasies of prophets, mystics, and holy fools, the illusion of children's lamb-like innocence, the nostalgic illusion of recapturing the glories of vanished and allegedly pure civilizations. The result is a highly original meditation that invites readers to consider their own deep-seated impulses and taboos. We want to know, we want not to know. We accept truth, we resist truth. Back and forth the mind shuttles, playing badminton with itself. But it doesn't feel like a game. It feels as if our lives are at stake, and they are. Okay, so the writer of the publicity material here got a little melodramatic at the end there, pretty effectively. So this comes out as a $27 hardcover in early December. Ignorance and Bliss. We'll move on to this next one here. Light as a feather, but it is a finished copy. It's a finished copy of something. Let's see here. Oh, good. Oh, great. I want a finished copy of this. Let's get this paperwork out of here. We've seen this already on this channel, but in case you didn't get it the first time, we'll tune in again. This is by Navid Sinaki, and it is Medusa of the Roses. The pixelated cover there. I believe this is a debut novel. Let's see here. Sex, Vengeance, and Betrayal in Modern-Day Tehran. Navid Sinaki's bold and cinematic debut novel. Right, debut novel. This is going to be $27, and it comes out in mid-August. Is a queer literary noir following Angier, a morbid, romantic, petty thief whose boyfriend disappears just as they are planning to leave their hometown for good. Angier and Zal are childhood best friends turned adults in love. The only problem is they live in Iran, where being openly gay is criminalized, and the government's apparent acceptance of trans people requires them to surgically transition and pass as cis straight people. When Zal is brutally attacked after being seen with another man in public, despite the betrayal, Angier becomes even more determined to carry out their long-standing plan for the future. Angier, who's always identified with the mystical gender-changing Tiresias, will become a woman, and they'll move to a new town for a fresh start as husband and wife. Then Zal vanishes, leaving a cryptic note behind that sets Angier on a quest to find the other man, hoping he will lead to Zal. Stalking and stealing his way through the streets, clubs, library stacks, hotel rooms, and museum halls of Tehran, where he encounters his troubled mother, addict brother, and dynamic Layli, a new friend who is undergoing a transition of her own, Angier soon realizes that someone is tailing him too. It quickly becomes clear that more violence may be the fastest route to freedom, as Angier's morals and gender identity are pushed to new places in pursuit of love, peace, and self-determination. Well, as I mentioned when I first got this, it sounds really good. The cryptic mention there of the government of Iran being accepting of trans people but not of gay people is a reflection of the fact that the trans movement, regardless of what you might think about it providing freedom for 1/2 of 1/10 of 1% of the population, it does erase gay people. If you are a little boy, in America anyway, certainly on the East Coast and the West Coast, if you're a little boy in America and you're in the least bit gentle, reflective, effeminate, in the old term, the automatic assumption will be that you're actually a girl, that you're a girl trapped in a boy's body, that you have a soul or a spirit that is trapped in the wrong body by, I don't know, demons or whatever put it in there. The standard reflection of this ideology is that you live inside your body. That's not true. You are your body. There's no part of you that is not your own body. There is no part of you that is not a result of your own biochemistry. So there are no mistakes. Now, the standard response of parents and school teachers and everybody else would be that gentle, non-confrontational, contemplative little boy is actually a girl. And what little boy can resist those kinds of pressures at that age? What little boy is going to have the self-awareness to say, no, this is just the way I am? It ends up, the net result for some people might be freedom of greater expression of who they feel like they are on the inside. But anyway, I want to know about the author, but I'm afraid to read his bio note. So I guess we'll do it anyway, since this is a lousy video anyway. We'll do it anyway. I feel certain that I'm going to encounter plural pronouns being used for an individual person, which is not grammatical. Naveed Sanaki is an artist and writer from Tehran who currently lives in L.A. Oh my. So I wonder how much of this is based on the author's own experience. What a story that would be. Why not write a memoir? Well, I know, I was going to say why not write a memoir, but they don't sell. And a novel might sell. This will be in every queer bookstore in the country. The few that are still alive, it'll have every one of them. His works, oh my God, he's a he. His works have been exhibited at museums and art houses around the world, including the Lincoln Center, British Film and Art Institute, Cineteca Nacional in Mexico, and the Modern Museum in Stockholm. Okay, so it sounds like he's... Well, I was going to say it sounds like he's much more of an artist than a writer, but this is his debut. I wonder if this cover is his. Is it possible? No, it's not. He did his own author photo. I guess in a hostage video, but certainly it looks miserable. Well, okay, that's it. He's been a very successful artist, and this is his first novel. Gay Life in Tehran. Okay, fantastic. So this comes out next month, so I don't have to worry about it right away. And then we have the box, which is light as a feather and is not from a publisher. So let's see what this is. Let's see if one of you has broken the rules and sent me something. What on earth is this? This is all sorts of packaging. Oh, but there is a note. Let's see. It's addressed to Steve St. Donahue. Like a modern generation that does not understand that if you write on the outside of the envelope, it's going to get destroyed. Okay, these are gifts. Okay, well, let's see what they are. So we'll get rid of the box, and then we'll get rid of the wrapping paper. This wrapping paper is a little bit distinctive on its own. It's fabric. I imagine that will come in. I try never to get rid of things. I try to use everything that comes my way that isn't just simple junk. And that would be useful in insulating the perimeter of an AC unit. That would be useful, I think. But let's see. Let's see what this is. I've got a package that's wrapped. It doesn't feel like a book. It feels like it has protrusions to it. Whoever you are, I'll find out who this was, but whoever you are, you need not have done this. You really need not have done this. I've said this a million times on this channel, but I'm getting more than I'm giving here. I really am. It is not necessary to send me gifts at all. Hey, baby. The bean is very interested in what this is. What is that, baby? Huh? What is that? Gone are the days. Those of you who were with this channel for a long time will remember when she ripped things apart. That was how she examined them. She didn't just politely sniff them. She tore them apart. She doesn't do that anymore. My little baby's getting a little older. She's unbelievable as it is. She's getting a little older. No, this is definitely not a book. What is this? Amazing. It's a little desk-framed portrait of J.R.R. Tolkien. What an interesting thing. How lovely. Look at how lovely that is. And it's got one of these triangles up top there so that you could hang it. I could hang this on the wall, which I don't have a desk anymore. I don't sit at my desk anymore. How wonderful. But there's also something else here. There's also a box. This obviously is also not a book. What could this be? So nice of you to send all these things. What is this? Okay, this is also for a desk. This is a Byron block. This is a block of Byron. There's Don Juan. There's Byron. There's the poet himself. Look at that. This is a block of Byron. I don't know what that is. Does the note actually say? No. No, it doesn't. No. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. I know what they are, right? There's a framed portrait and a block. Two things that, as the sender accurately notes, do not violate rule number one. Rule number one on this channel is don't send me a book. These don't violate that. How utterly charming. Well, that did put a smile on my face on a day when I wasn't really expecting anything other than Frida to do that. She's now carefully watching here because she wants to know if maybe there's something in here for her. There's nothing in here for you, baby. Not only is there nothing in here for her, but she's going to get a BATH later today. It's not going to go over well. It's not going to last long. It doesn't last long at all. In 10 minutes, it's all over. She dries incredibly fast. That tightly curled hair of hers dries incredibly fast. And it makes her feel better. So she doesn't flail or object to it. But she doesn't like it anyway. But anyway. All right, well, that put a smile on my face for the end of this mail haul. So we have Ignorance and Bliss coming out in December. And we have Medusa of the Roses, a debut gay novel that is of intense interest. Intense interest. So maybe it's a month early, and I've got a lot of July books to go through, but maybe put this on the list for tonight. I might do that. I'm probably going to want to read it more than once anyway, so probably I will. But anyway, that is the mail and a peremptory, broad-scale apology. Just so that we're on the same page here, I have friends who do YouTube for a living, and nothing like this interferes with what they do at all. They get horrible personal news. They see something in the national news or international news that breaks their heart. When they turn on the camera, their camera with their ring lights and their baffle plating and their muffle mics and whatnot, when they turn all their equipment, they go into game mode, and it's as far away from them as you could get. I don't do that. So when something is genuinely bothering me, anyway, we got some mail. I got wonderful surprises. I got a Byron block. How amazing is that? I don't know if this is supposed to have any purpose other than just being a decorative block. But although I don't have a desk, I have plenty of places, surfaces all around me where I put stuff like this. And this is a great thing to put on one of those spaces because I can just reach over when a word isn't coming or a phrase isn't coming out right. I can just reach over and turn this around to something else. Just fiddle with it for a minute as a momentary break from what I'm writing. That's fantastic. Byron had one of those as well. He didn't have a block with himself on it. Oh my, he would have loved that. But he did have something like that. He had a device like that. I think all writers do. In one way or another, they all do. Fantastic. All right, well, that put a smile on my face. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. I think I'll be back. In some form or other, I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.